In the part 3 of Calm and Quiet Mind, I mentioned about observer and observed. I didn't get to talk about observer is observed. And that's the question, what it is. I mentioned that in that video, observer is a bit of a higher level of who you are, as if looking from, let's say, from the heaven, or the God, if you like that term, to see what you're doing. And that's the point of calm and quiet mind, when the observer is observing the observed, and observed in this case may be your mind functioning. You're using the mind, therefore, if you are occupied, you don't know what it's observing. I mean, you're busy thinking of doing this and it doesn't work, okay, thinking of that. But how can something else, some entity, observer, exist? And to say that's what you're doing and that could be improved or something like that. Like kids are playing and there's a father saying that, he should be better thinking this way or doing this way. But as an individual living alone, how can it be possible? That's when it's a careful situation that we need to speak about. The religion may get into play, or the spirituality. And some people have some sense of what they mean, and maybe some uncomfortable feeling you may get. But if you think about that other entity, whether it's God or nature's way or Tao, whatever that is, if you think of that as some sort of entity, I'm using the word entity. Actually, there's no identity as far as I can tell, or you can say it's a law of nature, and that situation, whatever that is so wise that they can see what you're doing. And I said in the previous video, number 2, that internally we have the same structure from the higher level of myself, and there's a mini-me and a mini-mini-me. Because when you think, you start to collect of this idea, that idea, coming out of some segment of your brain as a reference point, and combine those together to develop kind of a scenario to find the way forward in your path as an invention or as a way or discovery of some idea to do something important or interesting, maybe business plan or life plan, what to do with the relationship, how to write well on the surfboard, whatever that is. We keep doing it and we can be very much occupied. But at the same time, my suggestion I shared in the last video is that you can access those higher level of me, whatever that is. And if you can have that perspective, it's almost like a triangulating. You basically understand where in the map you are, as if something like that, and which way it's going. And this higher level you is more observant, looking at the observed, and then be able to see further down into the subconscious at other reference point. So they may pop up, an idea is going to pop up out of nowhere as if. But basically that's what happens, combining the two unrelated things to come up with an idea to address the problem in front of you. I don't know if you have those experiences, but if you look into it, usually when you come up with an idea, you are more relaxed. And the relaxed state is like in the zone. Maybe driving, maybe on the surfboard, maybe daydreaming, I don't know. But if you are there, it's pretty much like what I call it here, calm and quiet mind. Generally speaking, mind is not occupied, so you can have a connection to your body, the stomach, lung, breathing, the temperature, the wind, the sound, smell, whatever that is, instead of being occupied. So you are more open, meaning that you can access to those mini-me's and observed whatever entity down there within yourself. And as in the dream stage, you are in a different wavelength in your brain. And that what it does is it's almost like a radio wave and X-ray. Certain wavelength can penetrate the thick object, but the certain wave is very difficult to do that. So each brain wavelength may have its own character. And if you are in this zone, alpha mode, or whatever, theta, or whatever they call it, doesn't matter, you start to connect far away unrelated object. That's the idea of thinking outside the box. Boundary is fading away. You can go deeper. And in fact, you can energize, empower those out there. And that's the connection to the mini company discussion I had elsewhere, because it's an empowerment of the people. In here, empowerment from within, instead of letting that to be kind of stored and shut off from the top management point of view to think about the future. In this case, you have to empower and connect ideas together and come up with an answer to the question. So that's the observer and observed situation of myself and the mini-me. Now going back to the higher level of I as I think and something else about me. So some people use the word God or nature's way. Now the question of observer and observed, and Krishnamurti is the one who said observer is observed. And I struggled to figure out what this means for 15, 20 years. And you may have to struggle, but I guess I want to share some of my view on this. And it, to me, is very profound that at the end, you start to see observer and observed is one. Why is that? Well, I mentioned about the holon structure and the me and the mini-me and the mini-mini-me, things of that nature. So each of those entity, the element, we have the same composition of the, let's call it the life energy or something like that, prevailing to do the best to live in that entity given the environment, which is like a customer supplier or the neurons connected, or the whatever the situation you fall into, that you're living in that universe. So there's a universe and a mini-universe, or we can call it there's a multi-universe and the universe and the mini. So it's all a holon structure kind of thing. And you do it in your personal life to relate to that higher me, higher power, God power, nature's power, whatever you call it, that I don't care. Or I can use the word nothingness, because you cannot use your word to define, because it's already there. So nothing to talk about. But if you let go of your personal ideas or ego, whatever that is fighting and figuring out, and let it loose a little bit, even 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute, even in the meeting, even in the middle of the meeting. I used to call it the mini meditation while things are going on and it's get boring, so you start to play with this quiet, calm and quiet mind. Because you don't want to lose that. Instead of getting upset about the slowness of the meeting and the stupidity of whatever is happening, or what is happening in the world, it's not stupid because it's going to affect your life, but how to process that. And one way to do it, an often forgotten way, is reach out to that nothingness, observer. And then when those two are together, and that's the point, no word can explain. And that's what this guy Krishnamurti was talking about. But in Buddhism, they talk about the same kind of a concept. There's Buddha and there's Buddha in you. They call it Buddha nature. The potential to become Buddha. So the answer is already there, existing, but we look for the answer outside. Zen Master Hakuin said, we are in the middle of the water, but we look for water because of thirstiness. Because that's the mind playing the game. But the answer may be there. So observe and observed is to realize who we really are and how we are playing the game, or that we is not we, but the nature's way, let's call it. One person I know, Nakayama, mentioned that our life is as if to find a way to play the game that God had invented. And I think that's a very interesting observation. I hate to say it's game, but it's kind of like a game, and it's a game from the point of view of nothingness, because we came from nothing to go to nothing, and what can you do about it? Okay, we can play the game and have fun if that's what it is. So I guess that's enough for today's discussion about common quiet mind, and let's see if we may relate to the observer and observed for the last 10-15 seconds. Stop the mind playing, because you don't stop, we just observe, it will stop, and get into the state of quiet, calm mind. And when you are there, eventually, already, you start to connect, and the awareness will develop. And that may help us all to live better, because that's the program of the universe, or the nature, so to speak. Thank you.